mortgage brokers definitely need to know that they need to stay in their lane. Like, not financial advice, we're giving credit advice. And when there's accountants and financial planners involved, I'm always trying to either get in the meeting with the accountant so that we're all on the same page, or checking in with them, because I don't want them to think that I'm some, cowboy broker structuring in a certain way. Mortgage broking is not rocket science. Everyone can do their, due diligence and check what the best rates are.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to Finances, your home for all things financial, investment, money and lifestyle. Hosted and curated by the very talented team of certified financial planners at Burke Britton Financial Partners. Well, this is the Fine Answers podcast. Do you understand the play on words there, Paddy, or not?
Fine answers?
Yeah.
Not really, no.
Well, it's probably, you need to look at how it's spelt. Could we start there, Delta? So it's Fine Answers spelled F-I-N-E.
Yep.
Space answers. I thought it was pretty clever. I don't know who came up with that, but
I like it. Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the Fine Answers podcast. My more than capable co-host, Delta Smith.
Welcome
Good to see you,
back,
Delta.
Jay.
Thank you. Now, we're in casual garb today, so what are we supporting with our end of month Friday?
Well, we've got a choice of charities, but we normally support local charities like Read the Play, Wombat's Wish, River's Gift, so a bit of a gold coin donation for Mufti Day if you're of that generation and you have any idea what I'm referring to.
You know what Mufti Day was?
I don't know, I was born in early 90s.
Well, you watched Neighbours, didn't you?
Oh, no.
You didn't watch Neighbours?
No.
Okay. Mufti Day is casual day. So for those people that always wore uniforms at school, Mufti Day was the opportunity to wear whatever you want and
there you go.
hang shit on your mates for their poor choice of clothes. I've probably railroaded. How were your intros while I was away, Delta? Were they a little bit more concise than this?
They were slightly more concise.
Slightly more concise.
Yeah,
But I like to ramble a little bit. But today's guest is Paddy Dwyer. Paddy Dwyer from TriLending, owner, operator, managing director. What do you want me to call you, Paddy?
I think owner's not too bad, or director.
Okay.
Yeah. Or principal mortgage broker if it sounds a little bit softer.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we've had, to be honest, Paddy, we had a few mortgage brokers on the podcast, and one of the things I was thinking about this morning was I wanted to ask you maybe start with what makes an exceptional mortgage broker, and we'll get into what mortgage brokers actually do.
Yep.
But what's the point of difference of an exceptional mortgage broker?
I guess it's a few different points. I always take it is like every mortgage broker says they've got the best interest of the client and think that they really care for them. But I think you can tell ones that do genuinely care for the outcomes and the client's experience from a whole. When it comes to differentiating between broker to broker, I think there's some just real generic stuff. It's about how quickly you can do it, timely, how easy you make it for the client, because I dare say there's some brokers and people out there or banks out there that make it quite difficult for the customer. So if you can try to make it as seamless as possible, quick, because everyone wants something done yesterday, which I've always found, and then also show that you care, because ultimately, they've got an outcome at the end of the day. It's buying their first home, investment property, and if you can make that as enjoyable as possible without the stress, then I think that makes a really good broker.
It's interesting that most brokers and financial advisors' websites say all those things.
Yeah.
They say we're going to turn the complex simple.
Yep.
And we have brilliant relationships. It's really where the rubber hits the road is what happens in reality, isn't it? And it's kind of the leap of faith for most people is kind of making the choice when all brokers look the same, smell the same.
Spot on.
How do we actually have a point of difference? I think that's one of the good things about having people behind the mic is it's pretty hard to hide people's personalities when they're in front of a camera behind a mic. So we'll run with that. Now, today, I think maybe before we start on all of you gave us a bit of a list of the things which I really love, and I'm busting to get to around the types of clients you look after and how you can support them with complex needs and making it simple. But let's start a little bit about you, Paddy. So let's start with your humble beginnings. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school, and what did you do before you became owner-operator of your own mortgage business?
Yeah. Well, starting from, I guess, the start, so I'm a Dalesford boy.
Okay.
Yeah, so born and raised there, and went primary school there, but high school over in Ballarat. So I went to St. Pat's, so guess, equivalent to St. Joey's here in Geelong.
Okay.
So a Christian Brothers school. So we sort of had two houses in between Daylesford and Ballarat, and finished there and went to uni. So I did a commerce degree, started at University of Ballarat, and in my first year I thought, this place is freezing, even though I'd been there for, forever. But I thought I don't have to be here. So I quickly Googled universities with good weather and ended up picking up Perth.
Okay.
Signed up for Perth, and me and my brother got in a car and travelled over and, landed in Perth and finished my studies. Funnily enough, so when we went over there, my brother was long distance dating a girl. I don't know how the connection was. But dated this girl. We stayed at her parents' place for 2 weeks. Well, I don't know if we even asked them we were coming over, to be honest with you. And then we found a place and set up shop there, and enjoyed my university. So just did a standard bachelor's degree. Funnily enough, I only did 1 unit of financial planning.
Okay.
But my first job out of university was back in Geelong here as an associate financial advisor.
Who with you? You at liberty to say who you were?
Yeah.
With, or you...
Oh, it doesn't bother me. So Income Solutions.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah. So I was there for just on 18 months, and decided to move over to the banking world, and I did enjoy financial planning, but I think that it just probably...
That was a hard did or didn't?
Oh, I did. But I sort of got a tap on the shoulder by a girl that I knew who worked at Commonwealth Bank.
Yep.
Although I did enjoy it, there were things that I didn't enjoy, and I probably didn't see myself becoming an advisor. And went over to Commonwealth Bank, did a, what was it called, an analyst role, so in the agribusiness space.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So working with farmers. Basically, it's just the assistant to a relationship manager. So, customers that had anywhere from $1 million to $10 million worth of lending, they had like a designated banker, and I was kind of his assistant. So writing credit, dealing with customers, and trying to get new business as well. So I did that for 3 years.
Did you enjoy the analytics?
I did, yeah. So it was about understanding financials, like self-employed financials, and structuring deals, and seeing where banks come from in terms of how they view and look at the credit risk of a customer. It was predominantly agribusiness, so farmers, and you can only wear R.M. Williams boots and belts. And
I saw you had your RMs on today.
I've still got them.
And they look pretty rough.
They are. I got them the day that I started there. I did enjoy it, but you sort of have to be a farmer in those positions, either from a farm or have a hobby farm. And so that, they see straight through it when you go sit at their dinner table. And I sort of writing on the wall, and decided to jump ship and went to ANZ, but just straight commercial banking. Yeah, which was a little bit more enjoyable. I could, I was probably generally more interested in the commercial sort of space rather than the agribusiness, and did that for 2 years, and then went over to the big bad side of brokering. So I went just worked for a local brokering business here in Geelong for 18 months, and thought I would love to do this by myself, and then jumped straight into running my own thing.
Yeah. No, I can't. I'm going to have to backtrack just a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, I probably skipped over that very quickly.
No, I was going to say, you mentioned, because both Delta and I are just obsessed with financial planning. We love it.
Yeah.
You mentioned there were some things you liked and things you didn't like about financial planning.
Yeah.
What were they?
So I really enjoyed, so I would take any job where even if you like it or don't like it, you're trying to learn something from it. And the fact that the financial planning encompasses so much about your personal life, insurance, I don't need to tell you guys, but, insurances, investments, superannuation. And so I felt like I got personally a lot of information from it, which I could then input for myself. And then obviously my friends and family and things, and guide conversations that way. But probably the things I didn't like too much about it was the amount of compliance and work that's involved, to be honest. Which brokers complain about our compliance, but I just say at least it's not as bad as financial planners. Maybe it was just me being young and thinking workload and all the rest of it. But
no, I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on in terms of the challenges of the financial services industry, and also the appeal of having sort of a scoped area of advice. Like, we strive as a business to get to the point where you can have very much specialty areas.
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges for financial advisors who are in small practices is they end up wearing so many hats.
Yep.
You wear the hat of being maybe the mortgage broker and the superannuation advisor and the aged care advisor and the compliance and risk auditor, and it becomes overwhelming. And so that's why there's been a kind of a mass exodus of financial advisors over the course of the last few years.
Yep.
But again, I'm very biased. It's I think it's an exceptionally exciting industry moving forward because the compliance levels are coming back to a more reasonable level.
I did hear that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's probably all going over to you now. So you're coming up to the level of.
It will still be a quarter of what you guys have to do, but and I always thought that. Like obviously you get better in your profession and learn a lot more, and it always was very daunting thinking of being an advisor because I could see the advisor that I worked with having to know everything about this customer, and he might only have 20 minutes to look at the work that I've given him and saying how we updated the super balances, insurances and all the rest of it. And you kind of, the people are entrusting you to kind of know their whole life and give you the advice on it, and if you kind of, I don't know, probably overthinking things, but if you mess up between, you know, knowing what their kids' names are, because that obviously adds to it, being that personal side of things, I was like, geez, that would be hard work. Even though I do something similar in my role, but it's nowhere near as much. You know, our annual reviews are just checking in on making sure the loan's right, and if there's any other needs they might have. I don't necessarily need to know every intricate detail that I collected 12 months ago.
Can't fake it, Paddy. There's no way you can fake it.
Yeah. And I don't know where I read it or heard it, but you can. Someone said, you can only have 150 or something intimate relationships. You guys might have hundreds that you're meant to have.
Yeah.
So like that was really daunting. So this tap on the shoulder to go to banking, I was like, oh, it's still within finance. So, you know, and I do enjoy numbers. So,
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, and all the things that you talk about there are the challenges that exist in our industry. And it's funny when we talk to different professions, it's interesting that we all want a similar thing.
Yeah.
Like we're all striving, if we're talking to solicitors or we're talking to accountants or we're talking to financial advisors, the good ones, they want to have amazing relationships with their clients. They want to make sure that they've got the ability to deliver advice. You said it, like quickly, seamlessly, and take away some of the complexity. And that's where I think, we said off air earlier, that's where I think the benefit of collaboration with specialists. Like we don't do mortgage broking, but we don't do commercial lending, we don't do agribusiness lending, but we know where we need to go to get those kinds of services. And I think that's been the biggest change of recent time is people not protecting their own patch of dirt and saying, I'm not going to introduce my client to someone else for fear that they'll actually be taken away. By collaborating, we actually create a much better result for the clients and in turn the business.
Yeah, and a sense of quality control as well, because whoever you refer is to an extension of your business, even if they're under a complete different business. So having those relationships, where you know that they're going to look after the customer as well as you would, is really, really important, isn't it? And also leakages, if they have connection with a financial planner and something happens and they, I don't know, get in the air and say, oh, so-and-so's better or so-and-so's doing this or that, and it just creates this extra stuff that you don't want to have to deal with.
And again, you can mitigate a lot of that by having great relationships.
I was going to say that absolutely comes down to the relationship, doesn't it? I was on the phone this morning with a new client's accountant, just ensuring that we're both on the same page as far as strategic plans, and, you know, that's just being respectful of each profession's lane, remaining in your lane, but working to get your clients the best possible result. So I think we're doing a much better job of that as a profession now.
Yeah, rather than try to be everything to everyone, we can be a little bit more targeted, a bit more specific. So.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry.
No, you go. You go.
I was going to say about collaboration with accountants. Like, I think mortgage brokers definitely need to know that they need to stay in their lane. Like, not financial advice. We're giving credit advice. And when there's accountants and financial planners involved, I'm always trying to either get in the meeting with the accountant so that we're all on the same page, or checking in with them, because I don't want them to think that I'm some, you know, cowboy broker structuring in a certain way, even though I believe I kind of understand what it should be structured like and what the ultimate goal is. But it's always just, hey, just making sure this is all right in the plan and it's okay with you. But you've got to have that good connection, and that's the beauty of having, you know, the account you always refer to, or the financial planner, because you can have those conversations and it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I think if you draw it as a Venn diagram with those overlapping circles, you don't want those circles, you know, in either ends of the spectrum. You want them overlapping, and I always like the idea of accountants and financial advisors and brokers and solicitors, I like it when we disagree. Like, I like it because it shows that we're, and it might be with humility, like you're disagreeing about a client situation because you're seeing it from a slightly different perspective. And that's the value of actually having a team of professionals that work for you. Again, without getting into the philosophy of our business too much, that's what we want. We want to actually surround our clients and their household with all of the appropriate and relevant professionals to give them the best outcome they possibly can. Yeah. We better talk lending at some level, Paddy. I know we had... overriding this, I want to talk a little bit about what makes TriLending different. We sort of started the conversation with that. But before the podcast, I had a couple of items sent through about the areas that you really enjoy being involved in, like you like making the complex more simple. But give me maybe the top 3 kinds of scenarios that you tend to deal with, maybe the ones that you like to deal with the most, and we can talk to each of them. So what are the top 3 sort of client-related scenarios, whether it be business, individuals? I know we had a few here around sort of bridging loans, those types of things. What do you see as the most relevant and exciting stuff that you do?
Yeah, I always think about this. You look at your numbers and sort of the customers you talk to most, and I don't know if it's my age demographic or what it is, but I deal a lot with first home buyers. And I think for me personally, it's probably, I don't know if it's a selfish thing, but I get the most reward and satisfaction out of it, because you're helping someone, buy their very first home to move into, which is one, daunting, but it's super exciting. On that though, it is a longer lead time, so it might be something where you're chatting to a customer and it's 12 months time until they get that next job or higher paying position, save enough for a deposit. But I tend to work a lot with them, and also it gets the best reward for me. And I think also from a longevity business perspective, more sticky clients, because you can add more value to them as well. Because ultimately, the longer they can stay with me, the more lending they might have in the future, and hopefully I've done a really good job when they remember them buying their first home through me and come back. But I deal a lot with the first home buyers, and sometimes with their parents as well. So I sort of encourage them, if they do have mum and dad, advising them a fair bit on all their sort of decisions. I said, look, would you feel comfortable if dad comes in on the meeting and we have a chat to him as well, because they're going to ask the right questions and be able to probably relay it afterwards as well. And then also it avoids sort of the situation where you might talk to someone who's 25, then they go away and tell mum and dad what I've told them, but it's not quite correct. And then there's more questions. So it's just sort of this good sort of synergistic way to look about it. Yeah.
Is that with the prevalence of more people needing the bank of mum and dad to get into homes?
I think so, yeah. So funnily enough, the ones that do say, yes, we do want mum and dad involved, there is a bit of a cash injection there.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think it's always nice to have a chat to the parents and show that that's the person that your child's going to be entrusting with the finance, and hopefully get them out of the home, to be honest. Get them out of that spare bedroom that can turn it into something else. Yeah.
I just spotted maybe a unique characteristic of your business, Paddy, that probably does set you apart from others. Talking to not brokers, not necessarily on this podcast, but in general, the idea of dealing with what's perceived as low-end clients, whether it be first home buyers, is sometimes seen as very transactional and maybe avoided. But you gave a little bit of insight into something that I feel pretty strongly about as well, and that is a client that you look after initially becomes a client long-term. They're a client that actually comes back to you not only with their own needs, but they tend to be a fantastic word-of-mouth referral source for their parents, their family, their friends. Yep. And that's unique. Like, that's unique in business. People say they do that, but not many people actually do it in reality. So, hats off to you for that.
Oh, thank you very much. And it's funny. So I think a lot of brokers, from the refinance opportunity, so someone who's got a home, wants to get a better rate, come through me, then I can potentially get paid, on the refinance. And brokers tend to target that because it's a quick turnaround, because you might be able to get it done within a month, and then from an income standpoint get paid the month after by the bank. So little second to that around first home buyers is because it is such a long time. The transaction is could cost a lot of money and effort, but whether it's a long-term client, but I just get the most reward out of it, being able to, call them up and say congratulations on settlement. Like, that means more to me than, something that takes a month and I get paid the month after. So
personal reward for effort, isn't
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the term is there, but it's, it's what I enjoy. Yeah.
So first-time buyers and next two?
Yeah, so I think, and I sort of think about this because mortgage broking is not rocket science. Everyone can do their, due diligence and check what the best rates are and things. And what I find, and sort of similar to the first home buyers, the best value add is when someone has or a family more so has a life event where they need a bigger home or want to relocate, and it's really confusing on what is actually possible. Whether it's, how much equity we have to be able to leapfrog into that new home, what's our borrowing capacity, what are the repayments going to be like, and what really is a realistic expectation of what that next house looks like. And this is, again, another one that could be 12-month lead time because you need to get stuff done to the house before you can get it ready to sell. You might need to get the job, or you need to go back from maternity leave because the reason for the upgrade is you've got an extra child. But I love those conversations because we're running through 3-4 different scenarios on, what's the potential house prices, what happens if you go back 3 days a week instead of 4. So I think that's one of the best value adds, and I do enjoy it because, I don't know, again, you get more satisfaction on them getting the extra bedroom or bigger backyard. And also I think it's something that the online calculators can't beat, is that sort of genuine advice around, what the options are. I can obviously never tell them what they should do because that's financial advice, but I can say this is what possibility is of getting it done.
Does that include conversations around like retaining that first home as a potential for an investment property?
Yeah, definitely. So this is one of the scenarios that will go, because a lot of them say, look, I'd love to keep that home if I can. And I go, look, this is what we can do, but it means that next property is going to be a little bit less, less expensive or smaller in a different suburb, and then they can make their sort of educated decision from there. And I'm never going to try and influence them. Ultimately, if they've got 2 loans and more debt, that's better for me from a lending and income standpoint. But more so, it's really up to you guys, or financial advisors or accountants. Maybe not so much accountants telling them to do that, but at least I can say, hey, this is a reality. This is realistic expectation. Yeah.
We talk about this a fair bit, but it's that detached decision making where you can present them with the facts, because people tend to be sort of emotionally attached, especially to something like your first, family home. Okay, well, this is option A, keep it. Option B, sell it. This is what it looks like. Yeah. Do you find that that's often sort of your expertise around guiding people to make those unattached decisions?
Yeah, I think so, or at least uncover what the reason is why they want to keep it, which a lot of the time it is, my kids were born here, working through one at the moment, which they 100% need a bigger place, and if they sell and want to buy that next one, it's a really nice house. If they don't sell, it's an extra $200,000 less, which could be quite substantial in the quality of the next home. But I don't know. And it's funny because sometimes when we uncover these or have these discussions, you uncover the reason they're in that meeting and they actually haven't spoken about what the roadblock is in wanting to sell it. So then seeing them sort of discuss it in real time. Yeah, realise it in real time, and then obviously discuss it after the meeting.
It's the benefit of being privy to those conversations too.
Yeah.
It's back to not being transactional, but actually being involved in the relationship with the clients.
Yes.
Is you actually understand the true motivation. We talk a lot about detachment being a superpower, and one of the skill sets, which is actually it's not really a skill. It's there's not much magic to it. It's just the fact that we're not emotionally attached to client situations. Yes, we have relationships with them. Yes, we love to see positive outcomes. But Paddy can look at a situation independent of the emotion that it was their child's first home and say, this is what the numbers says. From an analytics point of view, this is what you can do. This is what you cannot do. Then, with that information, be able to make an informed decision. Again, I think that if I want to say the value of getting advice or getting someone to help you with these things, that's what a website can't do. It can tell you the best rate, but it can't sit there at the table with you while you talk about whether or not it's going to be the trade-off is worth it to actually sell that house that you've got an emotional attachment to.
Yes, spot on. And I think also, one, comparing online calculators or what they want to do, ultimately, we want to keep both houses and we want to buy the most absolute, best house we can. But then bringing it back down to reality, it's like, this is what the bank's willing to lend you from a lending or a loan standpoint, but this is a reality on what repayments are. And they go, oh, that's a lot more than I thought it was. And I go, and what happens if interest rates increase by 1%? And then I show them. So really all I'm trying to get to is, what's your sleep at night factor?
Yeah.
So what's going to be the point where you go, this is too close to me having to live off noodles, you know? And I said, I'm never going to force you to borrow as much as you can, but I'm showing you what technically, based on what you're telling me, you can borrow from the banks. But you've got to have and I always say this, you guys need to have an honest conversation around what your repayments are going to be, and if you're going to be happy with them. And if you're happy with them, then I can certainly get it done for you. But
that margin of rate creep, which in a lot of our advice, generally, go back to 2020 and say we put a margin of 2% rate rise in. It's unlikely to happen. Guess what? It happened, and we had like significant pressure come for people that was just out of the blue. When that comes on you and you have done no preparation in advance, it's a shock to the system. And that's why you see people that have not planned well, have not gone and understand what their baseline is, find themselves in trouble and find themselves having to make stress sale of assets, which is the worst thing that we can have our clients do. Yeah,
definitely. And I think, like from a lending standpoint, especially when someone's buying a piece of land that doesn't title for 12 months or 18 months, whatever this amount is, you really don't know. So they say, oh, what's my borrowing capacity? Oh, well, it's based on today's rates and policies and everything. This is what it is. But just so you know, if rates increase, and they did in the last couple of years, you won't be able to borrow this amount. Or I'm going to put an extra buffer on top of the buffer. And maybe that's not enough because, the 4% rate rise. So yeah, it is tricky. It is tricky to get to get them comfortable and put them in the right position. But yeah, you just never know what's going to happen, do you?
No, we've had examples of people coming to us with the properties that they've put deposits down on, only to find out because of developments being pushed out further and further that they cannot settle, or that what they were hoping to do in terms of putting a home on it, they just can't do. And this puts them in a horrible situation that I think with a bit more positive planning, preparation, would give them a much better outcome. Again, I'm selling the value of getting some advice when people think, is it worth doing? Well, a lot of these things like rate rises, they're hypothetical and they're not a problem until they're a problem, and then you've got to deal with the consequences of them. So, get advice. Go and see Paddy. Go and see Delta.
I found so people that took out mortgages when they went to the absolute max, right at the lowest, maybe not great rates or maybe competitive, but when they've come to go, oh, look, my house is very, very valued, it's improved loan-to-value ratio, which ultimately is the determination of rate. Well, what can I do? And then I have a look at it, and I can't even prove they can service the debt they've got. So they're stuck. They're locked with the lender.
Mortgage prison, I think they call it.
Prison.
Yeah.
What sort of responses do you get when you have to, present that to someone?
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, well,
is it complete disbelief? Or,
it really is. And I just sort of show that, well, they know, in their bank account it's doubled in, the mortgage repayments are doubled, and it's just saying, I'm sorry, but unless rates come down, we won't be able to look anywhere for some time.
Yeah. Do you at least put some steps in front of them or plans around, these are the things that you can be doing to set yourself up for, a future point where you can look to refinance?
Yeah, I think so, especially when it's a initial scenario where they've borrowed, in the lender's mortgage insurance territory, and they've got higher rates associated with it. The steps are, hey, the way to get this, reassessed in terms of rates is we pay down the debt to an 80% loan-to-value ratio, or the value of the property increases. When it's a serviceability problem, it's if we stay the same today with no increase in income, we need rates to decrease. So it's like, or saying, hey, you need your income to increase, which who can...
Yeah, not a lot of people have influence.
Are there any other fixes for that? What would be a scenario where you have that situation, income can't go up, they're hamstrung? Are there any outs? Are there any...
creative solutions
to that, i.e. someone else guaranteeing or...
So funnily enough, I probably spoke too soon. Some banks put out like a rapid refinance sort of thing, where they, instead of when banks assess borrowing capacity, they have the rate plus they put a 3% buffer on. certain banks brought out policies where if you've shown like good account conduct, so making repayments on time for a 12-month period, we're only going to put a 1% on top of it. So really there are sort of some options, but even then there were some that couldn't. Question around the guarantors, it's once that's already been purchased, the guarantors aren't really any benefit. Yep. And also guarantors don't help with borrowing power. So that's purely just an equity position, loan to value ratio impact. So it's like the two sides of the equation. Yep. Caveat to that is, I think ANZ's got a policy where if mum and dad are on 250 or 500 grand a year, they might be able to help with the serviceability. But I haven't had anyone ever use it, so I don't actually know that inside and out.
Yeah. It's shocking to people when you realise that they see the rate and they realise what the bank's actually assessing is 3%. In many instances, 3% more than what the headline rate is. It doesn't feel fair to people, but you understand why, because a lot of people, because rates did rise significantly, put the banks and individuals under a lot of pressure. So
yeah, definitely. And I think our like governing bodies in mortgage broking, they're always trying to approach APRA and get that assessment rate changed, but I think they're hard and fast for the time being.
So that's helping first home buyers, helping people, sort of running scenarios for them. What are we, around maybe changing home? What's the third? What's one of the third scenarios that you deal with a fair bit, or that you're excited about, you really enjoy doing?
Yeah, like I love the idea, which is similar to that, whether or not buying a bigger home's an option, which all kind of ties in, but buying that investment property, obviously with it's more exciting talking about wealth creation and what we can do, because everybody's, and I don't know if you guys are in sort of advice on property investment, but I think every mum and dad and uncle tell someone to buy an investment property, and probably not so much managed funds, but so it's sort of like, it's that exciting piece. It's like, what can we do? How can we retire early? Obviously, I'm not advising on that, but it's the discussion on, hey, what's your borrowing power? How much equity do we have that's usable in this current home? They're sort of the good ones as well, because that's, again, the servicing calculator is not going to be able to help them on that.
What are you seeing in terms of people, for as many people that we've talked about that are struggling to get their first home or have had some difficulty in refinancing their home due to rates, how many people are out there that have got significant dormant equity in their home that maybe they've done nothing with, or they're just coming to the conclusion that they could do something with it? Is it a majority of people? Is it a minority? What are you seeing?
Funnily enough, for the ones that come to me and ask about whether investment property is an option, a lot of them, they bought their house 1 or 2 years ago, so predominantly at the top of the market, and have said, where's my equity? How do we increase it? And a lot of those conversations are quite easy, because we do a valuation on the property, and there's probably not quite enough to be able to do what you want to do. But it's good because they're thinking about it. So they go, all right, we've got the equity in the home. Someone said we can use it. What's the option? So I'd say 50% is it's not enough to be able to do what they want to do, and then the other ones are ones that have had a house for 10, 15 years and they've got plenty of equity. It's just around what that next one looks like, and then also showing them what the repayments it would be, and whether or not they definitely won't be positively geared if you're borrowing the full amount. Negatively, won't be positively geared if you're borrowing the full amount. So they have to be chipping in some money out of their cash flow. So sometimes it's a bit of a realisation what it actually takes to do it, because it's such a substantial amount of debt. Even if you're buying a house worth 500 grand and you're borrowing the full amount plus costs, it's not little.
Yeah, it's interesting how you said, like, your uncle or your cousin is encouraging or telling you to buy a property. That's, I think, much more the case than people saying, you can invest in managed funds, you can invest in a parcel of shares, that you can incrementally invest in investments rather than going and buying a significantly chunky asset like a property. As advisors, we are agnostic. We look at a client situation and what their needs are to determine whether or not it's property, shares, managed funds, cash, a small business, superannuation. And I think the exciting thing for us is that, like, when you see a scenario like a client that's got significant amount of equity in their home that maybe they haven't made use of, and they've got some wants and aspirations around maybe minimising tax, generating more income, retiring early, there's so many opportunities to do things with it. And I think that sort of health check on people's situation where people have done particularly well out of property. It might have been out of their principal residence or their investment properties. I think there's always value in having conversations, even if you're doing pretty well. There's always the benefit of actually going to see a Paddy and say, hey, Paddy, this is our situation. What potentially could we do? What access to funds might we have? We're not sure what we're going to use them for. I think that is something that we as a business want to continue to reinforce to people, that you can continue to make the most effective use of the income and your assets that you've got, whether you've got $100,000 in the bank, whether you've got $10 million in the bank, whether you've got 5 investment properties, no properties. Getting a health check on your situation from a lending point of view, cash flow point of view, this sets you up to be able to make then informed decisions about what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And what's our favourite question to ask clients, Jay? It's always why.
Oh yeah, why? Yeah.
Why do you want to buy an investment property?
Because my uncle told me to.
Yeah, I want to retire early. Okay, are we looking at tax effectiveness? Are we looking at the exit strategy? Yeah, so it's always that why.
And knowing the why helps my position and obviously the advice that you guys give, because when people are indecisive, like I'm dealing with someone at the moment who doesn't he wants to buy a property with his partner, but I don't think he's fully aware of what he's doing it for. Is it the forever home? Is it the one to raise kids? Or is it one that he wants to do up and then sell, and he's got another property, he wants to keep it, but then he wants to sell it? And every scenario is so different from how I assess borrowing capacity. And then ultimately, what's he actually going to be happy with? I can say, if that number one goal was to get into a nice home with your partner, potential for, kids to come along, well then you're going to have to sell this one to reduce your overall impact on your cash flow, but then also the level of quality that you have. But if you're trying to build wealth, that's a completely different thing. You can just buy kind of a doer-upper because you're pretty handy and do it up and get a bit of value to it. But it's so different, and I think whatever decision he probably makes is probably going to be the wrong decision if he's not sold on it.
Well, that example, one's a lifestyle decision ultimately, and the other one is an investment decision.
Yeah. And I'm sort of have to be careful because I'm not an advisor, but I can tell, ultimately that he hasn't figured out what his why is.
I think you'd be negligent if you didn't. If understanding people's motivations and why. Yeah. It's like we said earlier, they're sitting around the kitchen table and understanding that it's because of an emotional attachment, or recognising that someone actually doesn't have their why sorted, and maybe they need to go and have a chat with someone about rationalising what their financial and lifestyle objectives. Interesting that our very first conversations with clients is, tell me what are your plans, what are financial and lifestyle objectives. We end up, after those conversations, you end up finding out that there's another 2 or 3 that they haven't been able to articulate very well. And I think that, again, is one of the important things of actually talking to someone that's emotionally detached from your own situation, is that you can actually start to unearth what their real motivations are and whether they're actually viable. I want you to do the analytics on it, whether it's a viable thing for them to be able to buy that property just because their uncle told them they should. Yeah.
It's funny. So my obviously brief experience with financial planning, I understood that people would come in with this figure of, I need to retire with a passive income of $100,000. Why? So, well, I want to do this, this, and this, and you uncover that you only need $50,000 a year for that. So that's a completely different strategy to get to a $50,000, and it might bring you 10 years earlier in retirement. And it's super important to know exactly what that is, but unless you talk to somebody and they uncover it, it's hard to actually figure that out and also work out a plan to get you there.
I think attributing sort of a subjective goal, something that someone maybe has an emotional attachment to it. One of our superpowers, and I think would probably be yours as well, Paddy, is that you apply a time frame and a dollar value to those. Like someone says that I want to retire comfortably. Okay, what does comfortable look like? Is it this lifestyle that you're living at the moment? Yeah, it's this lifestyle. Okay, how much does that cost? I don't know. Yeah. So let's work that out. That's $60,000. Okay, well, when you're retired, we want you to be debt free and you'll be free of kids, so it's going to be a little bit less. It's $50,000 from age 60. This is where you are. This is what we need. Here's the gap between the two. Boom, all of a sudden we've got clarity, and you can see people like the pressure and stress of financial decisions. And I think that that comes by actually letting go a little bit and involving people in your situation, not necessarily trying to do it all yourself. Some people are capable, but I'd say the majority of people, myself included, benefit from some external counsel and advice on what you should be doing.
Yeah. That's probably a good intro into mentors that you've had over your professional career, Paddy. Anyone that stands out?
It's interesting. I haven't had anyone that I would say is a designated mentor at all, but I sort of, as I mentioned at the start, always find that I'm trying to learn something from every job or person, even if it's a boss that wasn't the greatest boss. It's something that you've learned that you don't really want to mimic him in any way or her in any way. But I've always been surrounded by nice people, I think. And I don't know if it's just the personality that I have, but I'm very forthcoming with asking questions. Like, I probably ask silly questions too much, but I think it's just the way that you interact with people. You let them feel comfortable so that they open up and then be a bit more forthcoming with guidance and information, that sort of thing. Because it's one of my things, and I don't know if you guys do it, but one sense of being able to get on the side of the other person is a sense of vulnerability. So like if I can not make fun of myself but be light and not so serious, then that can be able to open the door up for you to also be light and that sort of thing. So no matter where I've been, sort of the bosses or the top bosses, I've sort of done the same thing, and they've been able to guide me just personally and professionally. But there's
break down some walls.
You'll break down some walls. And I don't know if it's a great segue, but I'm part of the networking group called BNI.
Yep.
Okay.
And I was in there for 6 months and then become the president of the chapter. And my thing was trying to make people feel comfortable. And it's quite daunting. You go to this place, it's got 45 other business owners. Everybody seems professional. Everyone seems like they've got it all going on. So you turn up to this room, and my thing was, I'll make you feel comfortable by almost making myself look a bit silly, or fumble over my words or make jokes or dad jokes and things. So then it relieves the pressure for everybody. And I think that's a good way to go.
Very Australian thing to do, isn't it? Reflecting on that sort of cultural
self-deprecation.
Yeah.
One of my favourite, I'm wearing his jumper today, but I'm listening to a podcast with Jocko Willings and Chris Wilkes this morning, and the question that got asked was, what creates confidence? How do you exude confidence for your clients or your team or your family? And Jocko's response was, be vulnerable enough to say when you don't know the answer.
Yep.
So essentially humility.
Yeah.
If you're always trying to convey that you know things even when you don't, you've got a low level of anxiety that actually is detrimental to confidence.
Yep.
So confidence comes by knowing when you say, well, I don't know. It's much easier, and it kind of takes the stress off to say, well, I'm not going to try and answer something that I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know and go, what do you think, Paddy? Or you've probably got some insight that I don't have. So being curious, being humble, being vulnerable, I think that's the new age man, Paddy. I actually thought coming in today, I know Ben's behind the outside of the cameras, but I thought I was pretty unique with the moustache. I thought moustaches are back. I must be the only one, but we've got 3 moustaches here.
That doesn't include me.
For Ben. How long have you been rocking yours for?
Since January. So I had a beard for nearly 10 years.
Oh, see, that's even more extreme. That's good.
Yeah.
Beard
So I went deep.
Bushman.
I actually went to the bush, came back with a beard, never lost it.
Yeah.
And anyway, side note, hope you don't grow a moustache anytime soon, Delta.
I'm not planning on it. So,
okay, good.
I've had mine since, I think it's 25, so I'm coming up to 9 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually...
Not since 2025, since you were 25.
Since I was 25,
okay.
yeah. Which I think was quite before my time.
Oh, yeah. You're a lead indicator of this,
I think so.
Of this trend.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
Paddy, you touched on BNI. Tell us a little bit about which chapter you're president of.
So I finished up the presidency, so that was for a 12-month period, but it's called Network Connections. They met on a Thursday, 10 a.m. Every week, except over Christmas. It was been really good, and I think as a one-man band, getting out of the office, or in my case my room, as I work from home, and being around other sort of like-minded people, and you learn so much from any conversation, and you get connected to so many people you would otherwise not ever get in front of. And for me personally, I've been able to have someone do my website, do my insurances, do my IT, life coach, business coach, and probably a bunch of other things that have come from there. And it's got that like a ring fence of like really great people that you can trust. And like obviously, just because they're in BNI doesn't 100% mean they're going to be the best, but I think you can work it out and find your people and be surrounded by people that have your best interest at heart. So it's definitely a good program.
The power of connection. So we were talking about that earlier.
It's kind of a microcosm of what you want for your clients too. We said before, like surrounding them with all the right professionals and people that can actually support them. I know we're probably coming to time. One of the things you mentioned, your sort of the three scenarios that we're talking about, but I just wanted to quickly touch on whether or not, like residential versus sort of commercial lending, whether or not that is a place that you play in, and what sort of commercial or business lending, if any, you do.
Yeah, it's interesting because my background is commercial banking. So I was a relationship manager, small business banking manager at ANZ. That's all I did. And so it was always dealing with self-employed businesses, debts over 500 to potentially up to 10 million. And so I thought when I went into brokering, like this is my niche because I could fully, I can have those conversations with clients. I know the banking policies and how they structure and look at a deal and how it would have to be presented to a bank. But since going out on my own, all I'm really doing is residential. I do come across commercial stuff, but I think it's something that, I don't know if it's far and in between, and maybe there's a lot of really good brokers that sort of take the majority of it, but I know that if I have a self-employed customer that has commercial lending needs, I'll be 100% okay with doing that. Whereas I think a lot of brokers who just focus on resi, it seems like the too hard basket.
Out of their wheelhouse.
Yeah. And I still have really good relationship with business bankers at Westpac, NAB, ANZ, and try to get around with them. It's just I haven't really come across the clients yet. But that's what if you asked me this 2 years ago, that would be my niche.
Yeah.
But it turns out that I do a resi and investment a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Many small business owners, do you deal with many, either from a residential point of view, or is it mostly sort of employees, like PAYG clients?
I'm probably at 70% PAYG,
Yep.
and then maybe 30 the self-employed space. All sort of mum and dad self-employed, maybe with a couple of employees, and none of their large commercial sort of stuff. I haven't come across them yet. I'm sure I will, and hopefully I do. But
no doubt, as your network grows and the referrals grow,
yep,
you sure you will.
So.
Delta, you got any other closing questions for Paddy before we wrap things up?
Perhaps just outside of work, we touched a little bit before we started on, you average footballer. What else are you involved in the community with TriLending?
Yeah.
Any local charities and so on that you might support?
So when I left footy, I still wanted to stay active, and I did a sort of sprint triathlon. So it's a small distance swim, bike, run.
What's the distance on that, Paddy?
It's like 500 metre swim, 20k run, and a 20k bike ride, 5k run. Yep. And I was like, oh geez, I enjoy this, and it's good on the body. It's sort of low intensity sort of stuff other than the running. Anyway, so I got into sort of triathlon for a year and a half, and that became, I guess, somewhat my identity for a bit. But since having 2 kids, that sort of went by the wayside. But trying to do a bit of running at the moment. So I've got my first marathon coming up.
Cool. Which one?
I'm doing it in Brighton, the 31st of August. Just telling everybody, so it's keeping me accountable. But yeah, so I just try to stay active and spend a fair bit of time with the kids now. And I don't know if you guys are probably fully aware, it's a certain amount of time and minutes in the day. So, but yeah, that's probably about it, to be honest.
The marathon's going to be a good achievement, mate. So what's the longest you've run up until now?
So I did it because of the training. I've done a 26k.
Okay.
Yep. And then next week's 28, and I'll finally get up to 32, I think.
Yeah. I emceed, this is going back a little bit, I emceed for the Geelong Young Professionals about 15 years ago. Yeah. And one of the guys the guy that was speaking, the keynote speaker, was a guy named Tristan Miller, and his book, I'm going to get it wrong now, I think it was Run Like Crazy. He ran 52 marathons in 52 weeks, which I don't know, a bunch of people have done more than that now. But I asked him at the time, I said, what is your secret to running your first marathon, thinking he'd have some sort of training plan that he could offer as advice. And he said, register and tell everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
So put it out there, do a podcast and tell them about it.
So it was nothing about the training. It was not about, do couch to 5Ks. It was register and tell everyone and have them accountable to it. And that's exactly what I did. So I registered.
Done
I did Melbourne Marathon. Now it's 15 years ago. I only did one, but it was amazing. It was a tough gig. I went. My tip for you with your marathon is, however fast you think you want to go slower. If you've got paces, about halfway through, about 20 Ks in, I had the 5-minute pacer.
That's it. It's good.
And I said, I've got these guys covered. So I took off, and at about 30 Ks, I was going backwards. I was in molasses. So
in the pain cave.
3:36, and I was pretty happy.
Is good.
So,
Anything under 4 is great.
Yeah, I was pumped.
Yeah.
So good luck with that, mate.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if I'll beat that, but.
All right, well, maybe let's talk a little bit about how people can find you, Paddy. So on the interwebs, how do they get in touch with you if they've got some first home that they want to crunch some numbers on, they've got some dormant equity they want to talk about, they're thinking about buying an investment property because Uncle Bob told them they should. How do they get a hold of you?
Yes, probably the main one's the website. There's a form on there, so www.trilending.com.au. But I am pretty active on Instagram, so I'll try to put a fair bit of content out there, whether it's just a little bit about me, but also some tips and trips for first home buyers, people trying to unlock a bit of equity. So follow me on Instagram and maybe get familiar with me for a little bit and see if you like what you see. But I'm always available for phone calls, online bookings and things, which are links on the Instagram and the website as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it's been awesome to get to know you a bit, Paddy. I don't think we said this is the first time that you and I have crossed paths. So it's awesome to understand a little bit more about your business and your philosophy on dealing with clients. Delta, any other closing questions, comments?
Just thanks for coming on, Paddy.
Thanks for having me. This is great. Yeah.
Thanks, Paddy. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Burke Britton FP, or Google Burke Britton Financial Partners. Check out our client reviews, testimonials, and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility, do your homework, ask questions, and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PP Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke Britton Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.